We have Art from the Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement going to talk about tree removals. They're making it easier for private people to get rid of trees. And let's see, someone have to start this thing.
I'm going to go ahead. Does this work for you guys, or is this just recording?
No, maybe turn it on.
Did it a few times.
You good? Okay, here we go. I'm not Art. Art is with me. Art Emmerich is here. And my name is Steve McHarris. I'm your planning official and deputy director for Planning, Building, Code Enforcement. I work primarily in planning, and Art and I have been working together on this program. I'm just going to give you the PowerPoint presentation. I just want to give you a brief intro to why we're here, what we're up to. We're basically here to report on our progress here on private tree removal streamlining. This is something we're dealing with policy ordinance. Actually, it's going to end up being potentially some adjustments to the ordinance for private tree removals. We're seeking comments from the Commission and the public tonight. And overall, we're operating under the city's general plans, our 2040 general plan. We're also working under the municipal code, and actually working with portions of the municipal code in a couple of titles, actually a few different titles of the code, and a little bit in the habitat conservation plan, which is also in portions of the municipal code. When we're talking about reviewing a private tree removal permitting, the council's direction most recently is derived out of a couple reports that the council has received or adopted. One of them is a development service cost recovery analysis and process improvement report that was done for Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement. Reviewed pretty much all the operations that are done in the department, much of it with planning and development, and tree removals was part of that as well, tree removal process. That was accepted in December 2016. We also have a city audit of our city forest, and there were a number of recommendations in there, and there were some key recommendations directed at Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement related to, again, our tree removal permit process and tracking. So that was the first item I mentioned was December. The second item was in March 2017. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Art. Art's going to walk you through some of the areas we're looking at and give you some facts and figures to give you an idea of the challenges that staff in the city face as we move forward in reviewing the tree removal application process. Okay?
Thank you. Let me warn you, Art, you got about 8 minutes, including
okay.
the Q&A.
Thanks. Absolutely. Okay, and if you could, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, members of the public. If you could back up to the beginning, please. Yeah, okay, so next slide.
Can you raise the mic closer to your mouth?
Sure. Can we do that?
I think it's
There we go. Okay. Okay, thank you. So basically what we're looking at tonight is getting some feedback from the Commission and the public. Per the City Council direction, as Steve has introduced, the Council wanted to look at further streamlining the tree removal permit process, reducing unfunded staff time, and implementing, as Steve mentioned, the recent recommendations from the management partner studies and the our city forest audits. Next slide. And again, we won't get into all of this tonight in the sake of time here, but you're welcome to look at this. Basically, we've been tracking the kind of tree permits that the city reviews over the years. There's multiple categories ranging from dead trees to what are now defined unsuitable trees, single-family residential use only, and then the live tree removals. Just if I could briefly point out to the chart that you have there, and also in your staff report, live tree removals currently constitute over 60% of the activity for permits every year, tree removal permits. And as a lot of those, as you can see, are not fully cost recovery at this point in time. So we have a significant unfunded amount, and yet the activity continues. There are quite a few tree permit removal requests that go to directors' hearings regularly. Right now, that is the mode. They have to be noticed, reports have to be generated, and they go to hearing. Next slide, please. So what staff is trying to look at as part of a work program to present alternatives to the city decision makers is to consider a hearing process that's similar to what the Department of Transportation does with proposals for street tree removals. Say you have someone realizes that a street tree is diseased, is dying, is already dead. They can come in for a process of going through DOT. It's an administrative process that involves staff review, city arborist review. If there are concerns or protests, then there's an informal hearing that is held by the city arborist, and the city arborist makes a decision. In the case here, if there is some type of protest right now, it just automatically goes to hearing in the categories around tree removals, particularly the live tree removals. We're looking at better aligning the municipal code and also the landscape industry standards, so that reports that are generated as to the condition and health of trees, or the lack of health of trees, if you will, follow industry standards. So it's a consistent, it's easier for property owners to understand, easier for the staff to understand. Also looking at enabling online applications. Right now you can go online and fill the form out, but then you have to print it and bring it into the permit center. So it's not as efficient as I think we would like to see in the future. Next slide. So next steps, we're looking, we've been talking to some of the city advisory committees. The next one is Community and Economic Development Committee, I believe, June 26th. We're looking at further outreach with the community throughout the summer, later on in the summer, and then the target is to look at public hearings on recommended policy and ordinance changes sometime in the fall. And we'd be happy to answer any questions. You have more details, of course, in the staff report, and my planning contact information is also in the staff report. And if you or anyone you know has questions, they're welcome to contact me, and we'll be happy to follow up.
Okay, questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Cunningham.
Is Cunningham, District 1. Just to give you a little bit of background. My complex that I represent as a president of the association have almost 1,000 trees. And we had a real infestation a few years back, and you probably may be well aware of it, with the magnolia trees and the aphid issue and all that. It was very painful for us to get the permits. This is on private property that we maintain. We had the arborist report that these things were diseased, needed to go. And we finally handled it with a citywide issue. These trees were citywide. And there were several hearings on this, several meetings on this, and it was an expensive issue. And I'm going to look forward to going through this report. Hopefully it is streamlined, because it was, number one, expensive for us to do that, with the existing process at that time, and also just going through that process to get the authority to do it was also painful. So hopefully that clears that up.
That's some good comments, and that's part of what the staff is looking at right now as part of a work plan to recommend to city decision makers, is to have as much of the process set up at an administrative level like a lot of the other cities in the Bay Area are currently doing. It's something the management partners studies point out. They said, you know, if there's anything you can do to keep it more at the staff level, to simplify the process, to make it easier for people to get the permit. An example would be currently in 2012, the council allowed an ordinance change for unsuitable trees. So if you have a tree that now is lifting up your home, your single-family home, you can go through an unsuitable tree process a lot faster than going through a director hearing. But it only applies to single-family homes. And so part of what we're looking at is, well, why don't we look at expanding that to other land use categories? So if you have an obvious issue beyond a single-family use, why not treat those similarly? But feel free to give us a call after you go through the report.
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds, Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, John Semitic, District 4. One of the things I hear chronically is that they have to go to hearings when it was obviously a diseased tree. So my question is there any, to streamline the process, is there any document that defines what's clearly suitable for removal so that it wouldn't have to go to the hearing level, like
Sure.
the diseased
Well,
trees. And I realize it has to be
yeah.
verified, I understand that, but going to a hearing, I hear that over and over again, that it was obviously a diseased tree or series of trees, why did I have to go to the hearing?
We're looking at two things. One is to standardized arborist reports, so all the arborists know how to go through that protocol and follow international arborist standards. And then the second one is to try to eliminate all hearings unless there's a protest. Instead of automatically going hearing, only going to hearing if there's a protest, to cut way down on the
Like that,
amount of
that's
activity
good,
there.
like it. Okay.
Okay, we have one from the audience at RAS. While you're coming up here, let me make a comment that I'm concerned about that the mailings to the nearby people are going away. We've wrestled in this commission with policy 6-30, development noticing in general, and anything that reduces the number of people that are notified of something coming on is bad as far as I'm concerned. I'll support you an email on this and see if there's some way we can discuss that. Go ahead, Ed.
Ed Grass, speaking for myself. There's a number of concerns I have. One, I commend the city for going ahead and trying to streamline the process. I've had to take out some trees, and it's a very difficult process. So I think one of the questions you get into, well, you have online applications, basically, rather than having to come down and all the other things. Second question is, what happens, we've seen in a lot of the districts, basically, property owners or construction people come in and literally rip out trees with no permits. And the fines for that, they basically look at it as a cost of doing business. And they just say, all right, fine, I'll just pay the fine, go on from there. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. And the city has been, in my view, and a lot of the neighbors' view, kind of negligent in trying to enforce those type of things. So I think it's important that you put in something. It's also a way to fund some of the shortfall you have in your budget, basically. And that's especially true with heritage trees or historical trees. The other issue you run up against on this whole thing is, you're working with the arborist and everything else, which I think is a great idea. Will the arborist basically be able to certify or anything else, that the tree is in bad condition? And then what will the fee be reasonable? Thank you.
Any other comments on this? Okay, we'll be moving on. Thanks, you guys. Sorry for such a short thing, but it's our last meeting of the year. We've got a lot of things to do. Let me back up one step. As usual, I screwed up all of the Robert's Rules of Order stuff. I need a motion to appoint John Smatic as Chair Pro Tem. That's from Fleming, and a second from Wilkins, and we already voted. Thank you, guys. I'll get through this one of these days. Okay,